Okay, so we all know capitalism, right? It's been this incredible engine for innovation, for growth, for a lot of good stuff. But what if that same engine is also creating this huge global backlash? That's what we're going to get into today. We're going to dig right into the source material and try to understand exactly why so many people are pushing back.
And this quote right here, it just cuts straight to the heart of the argument. The idea isn't that things like inequality or environmental damage are, just unfortunate side effects. No. The source material claims these things are actually intrinsic to the system. They're woven right into the fabric of capitalism's design.
All right, let's break this down. Let's get right to the core of it. What's the fundamental contradiction here? What is the tension that the source material says is really at the heart of this entire system?
Okay, before we go any further, let's just make sure we're all on the same page. Here's the basic definition the analysis is working with. Capitalism, right? It's all about private ownership, fierce competition, and this relentless, non-stop pursuit of profit. Those are the three pillars.
And according to the source material, this whole system creates a fundamental split. It's pretty simple, really. On one side, you've got the people who own the capital. The factories, the technology, all the resources. And on the other side, well, that's pretty much everyone else. The people who have to sell their time and their labor just to make a living. And this division, the split, the argument is that it's the engine that drives everything else.
So how does that play out? Let's look at how this core division leads directly to what the source calls the first major consequence: structural inequality.
And the argument here is that this isn't some accident. It's not a bug in the system, it's a feature. The whole thing is basically designed to funnel wealth and power upwards, right to the very top. And that means the slice of the pie for everyone else just keeps getting smaller and smaller.
And that's the real kicker, right? It's not just about the numbers on a chart. It's about the human cost. When a huge part of the population starts to feel like the promise of a better life is just completely out of reach, well, that's when you get this deep-seated frustration and resentment bubbling up.
But the analysis says this goes way beyond just our bank accounts. It actually starts to change the very way we connect with each other. It fundamentally reshapes our communities and our relationships. So how does that happen? Well, the source breaks it down into these steps. First, individualism gets prioritized over the good of the community. That naturally leads to more competition instead of collaboration. And once that happens, that changes the whole game.
And this is the final piece of that puzzle. Suddenly, things that we think of as basic human needs, I'm talking healthcare, a place to live, a decent education, they stop being treated like rights. Instead, they become commodities. They're just products on a market, and if you can't afford them, well, you get left behind.
Okay, so this is building, right? And it creates these much wider costs, not just for us and our communities, but for the entire planet.
And what's driving all of this, according to the source? It comes back to one thing: that relentless, constant demand for more profit. That's the engine pushing us into the next set of problems.
And here's what that looks like in the real world. That drive for profit, it leads to exploiting natural resources, often without a second thought for sustainability. And at the same time, it puts this immense pressure on companies to cut labor costs, making workers feel insecure, disposable, like they could be replaced at any moment. This quote really captures that feeling of anxiety, doesn't it? The promise of opportunity often falls short. The source points to things like the gig economy and the rise of automation and says they're replacing stable, secure jobs with a future that just feels a lot more uncertain for a lot of people. So let's put it all together. You've got growing inequality, you have people feeling more isolated and disconnected, and you have this rising sense of insecurity about the future. When you mix all that up, the source material argues that a major backlash isn't just possible, it's pretty much inevitable. And of course, there's the political piece of this. A lot of people just feel powerless. They feel like their vote, their voice, it's just being drowned out by corporate money and powerful special interests. And that's just throwing gasoline on the fire.
This isn't just some abstract feeling either. It has turned into real organized movements. You see it with Occupy Wall Street, with Black Lives Matter, with Extinction Rebellion. People are hitting the streets, they're organizing, and they're demanding fundamental change. It's become this powerful global chorus, and it is definitely getting louder.
And the analysis is really clear about this next point. It says we shouldn't look at these as just protests about single issues. They're way bigger than that. They represent a deep rejection of the entire system, a system that, for them, just feels broken, unsustainable, and fundamentally unfair.
Which, of course, brings us to the biggest question of all, the one the source material leaves us with. So,
What comes next? Where do we possibly go from here?
So here's the core contradiction in a nutshell. We've got this economic system that is incredible at driving progress and creating wealth. I mean, no doubt about it. But at what cost? The argument is that it's coming at the cost of massive social and environmental damage. And that's a tension that's becoming harder and harder to ignore.
And so that leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? As this backlash grows, as the calls for change get louder, can capitalism evolve to fix these problems? Or is it going to be replaced by something entirely new? The source material doesn't give us an easy answer. That's the question we're all left to grapple with.